right. So, hi, I'm Amy Armstrong, and welcome to Stories Live. We have some pretty interesting stories coming up tonight. We got some fantasy, we have some kind of erotica horror going on, all kinds of good stuff. And I am going to actually be starting off the evening with Michael Gabriel. He's a musician. He's agreed to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and add you to the stream with me for a second here, Michael. Yeah, you just have to share for a second, and then I'll go away.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So, yeah. So, Michael, thank you for joining us. You are joining us from New Mexico.
Taos, New Mexico. Yep.
Taos, New Mexico. So you're a man in the van.
By a river.
By a river. Even better.
Yeah. a stone's throw from the Rio Grande Gorge. Yes.
Nice. Sounds idyllic. All right. So yeah, Michael, I'll go ahead and, get my mug off the screen here. And I will also be posting the links here for, if you guys decide you want to tip our musician tonight, you can do that. And I'll go ahead and paste that in. But yeah, Michael, go ahead and take.
All right. I'll get right into it. I'm only seeing a little small version of me there, so I trust it's coming through. So yes, thank you, Amy, for having me here. I'm going to sing 4, maybe 5 songs. I've been doing this actually quite a bit lately, just recording some songs from my camper. It's not a van, but it feels like a van, and posting it live. So this is kind of a version of that. I'm going to do a song I often start with when I was playing live a ton. It's called Live While You Can. And let us know, too, how the sound's coming through. It's always an experiment when we're doing something like this. And thanks for joining us. Upon to one day be a queen, chasing distant treasures to bring diamonds to a house of gold. Blinded by her diamond eyes, bounded by the chasing life, she never saw what she had. Live while you can, win or lost the same. The ebb and flows come and go, it's how your heart remains. Live while you can. In younger days, she would believe in the crazy places hearts can lead, but now second guesses why. Live while you can, win or lost the same. The ebb and flows come and go, it's how your heart remains. And when the wind finds sleep and shade, the rain washes gray and the sun lights up the ground. She finds a new way out, makes her way through the rubble, understands why the trouble crashed the walls on down. So she could see. Live while you can, win or lost the same. The ebb ebb and flows, come and go. It's how your heart remains while you can. A pawn to one day be a queen, chasing distant treasures to bring diamonds to a house of gold. All right. Cheers. It's just iced tea. Wink, wink. I can't see anything. Is everything good? How's it going there, Amy?
It's going pretty good. My drink is not virgin.
Ah, hello.
Like everything about me. But anyway, yeah, you're doing good. So keep doing your thing.
All right. I'm a little flustered now. What was I going to do? Yeah, okay, cool. So the sound's all right?
Yes, the sound is good.
All right. Okay. This is called Crawl If You Have To. Here it comes again, since I don't know when. Don't wanna go there, won't let it win. I've been believing so long, I'm bleeding for change. It's not so easy to stay here when you feel gone. Well, I've lost some friends, I lost my way, I won't lose to the rising sun. Crawl my way to overcome. I've been taking chances, dancing without an end. Some things I love, some things I regret. I've been believing so long, I'm bleeding for change. It's not so easy to stay here when you feel gone. Well, I've lost some friends, I lost my way, I won't lose to the rising sun. Crawl my way to overcome. It's not so easy to stay here when you feel gone. Well, I've lost some friends, I lost my way, I won't lose to the rising sun. Crawl my way to overcome. I'm not the first person to deal with this. Easy to see, hard to resist. I've been believing so long, I'm bleeding for change. It's not so easy to stay here when you feel gone. Well, I've lost some friends, I lost my way, I won't lose to the rising sun. Crawl my way to overcome. All right. That's Crawl If You Have To. For those of you who've been following me, yeah, you can go to my YouTube page. I've got a live version of that as well. I've got 99 subscribers, so if you want to be the 100th, please go have a subscription there. How's everything going, Amy?
Everything is going good. So yeah, sounds good. Katie Webster officially says it sounds good. So,
Okay.
you're getting all kinds of love on YouTube here. Nobody ever says they like me whenever I'm on. So, I'm
Well,
jealous.
I don't think you're wearing the right hat. I think that's probably the deal.
It's the hat. It could
Yeah.
be the hat, or I just need to stop wearing tops. I don't know. I got to go with what I got. Anyway.
Wow. It just gets R-rated really fast. Every
Sorry, sinking to the lowest possible denominator here.
That's all right. Anyway, I just want to say a shout out to all the performers after me. Good luck, have fun, and again, Amy, thanks for having me. I'll do a few more, or a couple more, and yeah, if there's any requests that come up, let me know, and if I remember it, if I know how to play it, I'll play it. But it's always fun to see if some people have been following this for a while. So, all right, here we go. So this is a new song, well, somewhat second last release. It's called Lightning. It's all about not giving up. I like that theme. Looking back on roads we've walked on my troubled path, I made every footprint all on my own. And I found reason in stormy seasons. I've made my peace with my shouldered angel on my left, devil right. We've all seen things that's brought us to our hands and knees. Do we know when to give up, when to let go? It comes down to what we decide to do in those moments when we want to fly away. And there's a tomorrow if we wanted to break on through what's holding you down. Reach for those hearts touched by the sun. And there's a tomorrow if you wanted to. And people who believe in you. Reach for your light, lightning inside. Light up your life. We've come to a place without blame, and we make the best of the call dealt to ourselves. And there's a tomorrow if we wanted to break on through what's holding you down. Reach for those hearts touched by the sun. And there's a tomorrow and people who to believe and believe in you. Reach for your light, lightning inside, light up your light. Reach for your light, lightning inside, light up your light. All right, so that's a song called Lightning, and we have a studio version of that as well. And yeah, this is probably a good time to remember not to give up, because I know I'm being challenged right now. I think all of us are feeling the gravitas nature of this COVID thing at this point. It's definitely affecting us all. So you are not alone. Just remember that. So I'll do, I think, one more song. How's that sound, Amy? We're good? I can't hear anything. So are you still there?
Now. So yes, one more song is good. And perfect. Yeah, so I will see you in a sec.
Okay. I got a new confession. No longer bound, untied, a new direction. Making a blaze, making my own way. Learn to turn corners, move forward, move more to tell we're brave. We will be brave. I've been meaning to tell you, I've been meaning to tell you. These words will have power over all the hours I've left. Well, we're making a blaze, making our own way. Learn to turn corners, move forward, move more to tell we're brave. We will be brave. I don't care what you say anymore. This is my life. I'm living, digging outside of your damn coal mine. Oh yes I am. I got a final message. If you are like me, then let's break free from fear we don't see. I don't care what you say anymore. This is my life. I'm digging, living outside of your damn coal mine. Oh yes I am. All right, that was Cold Mine, and that was my final song. And thank you very much, Amy, for having me here. Thank you for joining me in my hot, hot camper. Holy cow. Yeah. Okay.
So, Michael, we have a couple of things.
Okay.
In fact, I mean, typical, female and all of this, like I've always got demands. So we did get a request.
Okay.
We had someone ask, and this is Janae who asked this. She asked, She says she's not familiar with your songs, but she likes what she's heard, and she's wondering what the very first song that you wrote was.
Oh boy. Wow. That was probably in 1995, my first rock band in Toronto, Canada, and I think it was called The Lonely Soldier. Woo! Yes, I'm that old, but yeah, that was my first song I ever wrote. And I really didn't learn any covers for about 10 years. I only started to learn covers, I guess, again, yeah, a decade in. But yeah, that was it. It was as soon as I could put a few chords together, I just started writing songs because I thought it was kind of neat.
So are you like you're just like, I'm not even playing that because it's way too retro?
Oh God, I wouldn't even know where to start. No, I don't even know the chords of that. No, that's a little too old. Just like me. But yeah,
Poor
no, I think
Jay. She's gonna be so sad.
actually it was D minor. I think it was a play on D minor. Sorry about that. I can do. Yeah, if we have time later, I would do if there's an artist. I play a lot of covers from like the '70s. Don McLean, Jim Croce. I do a Depeche Mode cover. I put Mad World out there recently. That's a great song from Tears for Fears.
Yeah, you've got a good Don Henley cover out there too. Boys of Summer, very appropriate.
Yeah. That was fun. I wasn't a huge Don Henley fan, but that song was really good. So yeah. But thank you for the question and making me realize, how many years have passed. So thank you.
Well, I have a request for you. Our next reader, John David Payne, he is trying to put his kids to bed and he's having child difficulties. So he asked me if I could go next. And I know I asked you to do an eensy teensy favor for me if you could possibly, do a few bars of a certain song for me to lead me into this next piece that's not as good as you or the song you're singing, but we'll do it anyway.
Don't put pressure on me like that. Don't do that. We don't know yet. We don't know. Do you want to I'll do a verse and a chorus. Is that what you'd like? Maybe something like that. I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. You don't care for music, do you? Goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, baffled king composing. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. There you go, Amy.
What's that? How'd it go?
I just said, there you go.
Thank you very much. And yes, I will get into my thing here. Okay. And so I will just let you off, so you can, hang out and chill, and we'll see you back at Q&A later.
Okay. Sounds good. Right. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the show, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So let's see. of course, like this is where I decide to use the camera as a mirror and my hair goes flat. Okay. So let's see, just making sure I'm unmuted here. And so here we go. So I am currently working on this novel that I have been working on since forever, which is like pretty much like what every novelist out there does classically, right? So let's see. It's basically like a semi-autobiographical novel about like my whole experience of kind of losing my mind and moving out to Denver. And this is sort of part of one of many epic road trips I took during that time with my mom. And my darling mother, is so kind. I read stuff like this all the time, and she still, is more than happy to, not disown me. So thank you, Mom, for putting up with me. And I'm sorry for what I'm about to read. So here we go. And I did call this Hallelujah because we did end up talking about the song. So I thought that it would be good to have context. It's never easy to leave Flagstaff, but it's even harder when you're stuck on the road out of Flagstaff due to an accident that occurred 2 hours before. Actually, I think it had been longer. I was on the road with Mom for the recovery portion of that episode, but she still tried to insist that if we'd left at something like 5:30 in the morning, it would have been easier. The accident happened around 5:30 a.m. because a trucker and a commuter encountered each other when neither one was fully awake. She tried to get something on the news about the crash, but couldn't find anything. About an hour later, when we could finally pull up at a rest stop, I tried to pull up news articles. I couldn't find anything about recent highway incidents beyond the fact that there had been one. They mentioned a few times some naked guy ran across the highway, I offered. What, today? No. The most recent time was a month ago, I said. Mom asked, what? It has happened at least twice in the past 6 months. Well, that can't be the only thing on there. Something must be on the news somewhere. This is ridiculous, she declared. Well, find it on your phone, I said. It was about 1 p.m., which marked approximately 3 hours in stop-and-go traffic. I think we'd had a McDonald's-type breakfast in there, but whatever it was had worn off a while ago. We passed several places that might have worked for lunch, but Mom wanted to stop in the real nice area her dad used to stop in. She didn't know the name of the town. It was somewhere in Navajo territory with a mall and a bridge some dude had tried to get her dad to pay a toll to cross for no reason. The guy on the bridge claimed the bridge belonged to his people. Her dad claimed it was funded by the American taxpayers. I guess depending on whose perspective you prefer, both of them were right. I've never been a fan of toll programs, though. When we exited in this town my mom claimed to recognize, we didn't have any sign of a mall. Also, I didn't have any cell signal. And my mom kept questioning this. She kept pointing out cell towers, like that would somehow will my phone to have better reception. I finally handed my phone to her and said, if you can get the maps and restaurant ratings to work, more power to you. I still suspect that she believes I was sabotaging it, but I'm not sure what advantage I was supposed to be gaining from that. We ended up at a place called the Blue Kettle. They had a salad bar in the middle of the restaurant with iceberg lettuce in a big tub, smaller tubs of ranch and Italian dressing, and canned sliced black olives. The menu included unlimited trips to the salad bar for $7, which you could add on to any meal. Meal options: mac and cheese for the kids, turkey sandwich on white bread with American cheese, grilled American cheese on white bread, A hamburger on a white bun with American cheese and iceberg lettuce, condiments on the side, and fries. Navajo fry bread and Navajo fry bread with tots, chili, and cheddar cheese. I went with the fry bread, tots, chili, and cheddar because it almost sounded local. The chili tasted canned and everything was lukewarm. Oh, that was so neat, Mom said after we got back in the car. What part exactly? I asked. Well, I mean, it was food. I know this might seem like a strange question, but was your food even hot? It wasn't hot, but not everyone likes it that way. No, I don't mean spicy. I mean, like as if someone actually heated it on something. No, I guess it wasn't. Huh. I never thought of that as a preference thing. I thought of it more as a food safety thing, I said. Mom didn't seem to have much to say after that, so I tried to focus on the road ahead. We switched for a little while after the following rest stop, but Mom didn't want to drive after dark, so we switched again at dusk. At that point, we began our ascent into the forest just outside San Diego with its mix of fog, mist, and salt air. I wished we'd been able to see it during the daylight, but I was happy to be closer to San Diego. And I felt my body relax into the knowledge that within hours, I would be able to put my feet down in California for the first time in over 10 years. Two overweight officers with flashlights at the border stopped us and stuck their flashlights in our faces and in the back seat before they decided we could just go on. Before long, we were at our exit and our La Quinta. We had one tiny problem: no parking. Mom checked us in with the grumpy guy behind the desk who told us that when we parked, we needed to put our tires just so, or the cops would give us a ticket. This was for the street parking. I decided I needed some in and out in me before I could be mentally equipped to succumb to the bizarre parking specifications of the San Diego PD. Mom was dubious. I thought she'd just be grateful I was insisting on grabbing hamburgers for a change, but I explained that these were not just any hamburgers. She didn't like waiting in line, and she didn't like the lack of dine-in options after 10 p.m., but she agreed. The burgers were awesome. Back at the room, I messaged my friend, and we agreed to meet at the marina for lunch the next day. Mom asked about these plans about 10 times before I got to sleep. I was excited to see my high school friend, but there was a boy in Irvine I was hoping would decide he had time to squeeze me in. I kind of figured that wasn't going to happen, but I hoped. That was to be our next stop after San Diego. My stomach tingled a bit that next morning. I figured our lunch would go well, but what if it didn't? What if I met Sandy and we walked right by each other? What if we no longer had anything in common? What if we bored Mom to death? Those fears melted away as soon as I saw Sandy at a table outside the seafood market. Sandy used to be a fellow girl in my classes who played amazing basketball and kicked ass at math, French, and just about everything else. I was just the boy chasing rider. At least some important things had remained the same. You look exactly the same, Sandy said. Is that good? Could be worse. When these looks do something good for me, I'll call you, I said. Mom rolled her eyes. We enjoyed some fresh crab by the marina and fries, and Sandy enlightened us on the homophobic faculty she had various encounters with throughout her high school experience. Apparently, one finally apologized a year or two post-graduation. I also found out that a lot of my classmates spent most of their time drunk. It was weird knowing how oblivious I'd been to all the pain and drama. I was kind of grateful since I have no idea what I would have done at the time. Sandy took us and her adorable mutt, Darby, to the Ocean Beach Dog Beach, where we met a bunch of other playful pooches, including a chubby basset who was trying to dry out by the water fountain. He let us give him ear scritches. After that, we were off to Balboa Park, where we saw the post-secret exhibit at the Museum of Man and watched the locals sunbathing around the ponds. Then it was time for snacks in San Diego's gas lamp quarter. We ended up at a punk rock / Korean fusion place. The food was hot and the atmosphere was hotter. My sunburn from the dog beach probably contributed to some of that, but I decided it was worth it. I suspected my feelings would change in bed at the hotel, but I wasn't going to let it destroy my buzz on sunshine and craft beer. Once the food settled, we bid San Diego farewell and hopped back on the highway toward Irvine. I wanted something mellow to listen to, so I scrolled down to Leonard Cohen on my playlist. Of course, Hallelujah popped right up. I'd spent a lot of time driving around Denver listening to it and crying. Sometimes I could sing along a little bit. This guy has a weird approach in this song, Mom said. What do you mean? It's like he's singing to this woman and supposedly trying to get her attention, but saying, you don't really care for music, do ya? Backhanded insult. I think that verse is to God, I said. Doesn't make sense. I guess you can take it any way you want, she said. He's saying that we praise love as this high emotion and connection, and it's a gift and a blessing when it just leaves us feeling ripped apart. It brings us to our knees. Is that how you feel about that loser, Logan? Hard eye roll. I was talking about the song. Congratulations on never having a broken heart. I had a broken heart once. That math guy in college, he sent me a postcard, and that was it. I cried for a week. I talked to him years later, though. He lives in a trailer, and he has been divorced twice. Wow, I'm a winner. I live mostly out of my car, and I'm only almost divorced once. And yeah, that's as far as I got with that so far. But yeah, so that is where I am at. Let me see here. Is my other friend ready to go? Let me look for John here. John does not seem to be here right now. Let's see. Sarah, help.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
So
So
it was great.
I'm just looking at my notifications here to see what is going on here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see John. So we might have to hop to our next person. I'm just going to take a look really quick and make sure that I am not missing him. So maybe, let's see, Steve, do you want to nod if you want to go next? Okay, cool. All right. So thank you, Sarah, for helping me out here. And yeah, I will go ahead and get Steve on here. So, all right, Steve, you are on. What are you reading for us tonight?
Okay, I'm going to read the first chapter from Winged Lion, which is my latest novel that was released just a few weeks ago. And
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So it's 4 in the series, but it's a standalone, so we should be okay as far as being able to just jump right into it.
All right, awesome. Well, good luck. I know you'll rock it.
Okay. Captain Thomas Benson closed his eyes. The pulse of the engines gave a gentle, purposeful buzz to the deck under his feet, and he hoped the coffee he had swallowed would soon be doing the same for his brain. Ship's time was 0600, and he was on the bridge of the Gattino Alato, where he was supposed to be. His first officer was late. Schiava, where is Miss Vandermeen? Miss Vandermeen is at Container 8. The aft lashing shifted this morning, and she is working with the younger Mr. Beauvais to correct it. The artificial intelligence system's reply sounded deferential, her voice soft, with a touch of sultriness in the Italian accent a programmer in the meeker shipyards had added to her personality silo. Tom liked his ship's voice. It reminded him of the summer he'd spent studying in Barcelona. The girl from Venice he'd met there had been his lab partner, and then more. Her voice had been soft and sultry, too. The sound of it had seduced him into following her to La Serenissima and applying for work with the Trade Guild. But that was long ago. Please remind Miss Vandermeen of the time, and that I am waiting for her. Tom took another sip, and the coffee burned his tongue. He closed his eyes a little tighter, and thought of morning coffee at the Bamboo Beach Bar just south of the Barcelona Museum. Fiona, he whispered. Schiava screamed his name. Capitano Benson, unknown craft in our path ahead. They have not replied to my challenge, and they're spinning. Spin up. Tell Miss Vandermeen she damn well better have number 8 lashed tight or we'll tear apart. Where the hell is our escort? You should be able to sense them by now. See, but I cannot feel them. Perhaps they have been delayed, or it could be because we transited the Qingyo deep space hole early. We're already through the DSH? A shiver chased down his spine. When? 0406 this morning. I have already notified the docks at Newt Palisade of the change in our arrival time. Encrypted, he asked. Not that it mattered anymore. Of course. How else? She sounded offended that he would think her that careless. 3 hours early. Explain it to me. We've been underway 3 weeks, and the nav charts don't reflect any deviance. Why haven't you told me until now? Schiava sighed. A harmless secret. Mr. Beauvais, Simon, not his little brother, was first. He asked if I could nudge thrust up 1% on account of a girl he knows on New Palisade. It was important for him to meet with her as soon as possible. Then his brother, Mr. Takanatoken Beauvais, asked the same thing, so I added another % in the name of his friend, Delilah. Engineer Tullison bumped me 1%, and so did First Officer Vandermeen. She lowered her voice as though telling him a secret he didn't already know. I think they have a date planned at the Bab al-Amar. And then you added 2% for, I know what I did. Elsie Campbell, Schiava finished anyway. First Officer Gabriella Vandermeen pushed past the door onto the bridge while it was still sliding open. Her face flushed from the 300-meter run from Container 8. Her shoulder-length brown hair had come loose from where she tied it back, and she shoved it away from her face. Sorry I'm late for watch changeover. We snapped 2 fiber lashings, but it's squared away now, sir. Her gaze drifted to the red flashes on the main display panels that covered one wall of the bridge. What's happened? Is that... Fast attack craft, he confirmed. They've cut us off. Gabriella stepped in front of him and touched the image of the FAC. Her fingers sparkled in the coherent light of the display. They've already spun up, ready to strike. How long? Her voice had become soft, barely above a whisper, as she looked at her probable death. Schiava answered, 6 hours, give or take. It depends on what our Capitano decides to do next. Gabriella looked at Tom. The tightness around her eyes betrayed what she was feeling. She was afraid. He shook his head. Schiava, have everyone in the mess hall in 10 minutes. Are we at full spin? Almost. I can't spin very well with 16 cargo containers lashed to my nose. They stretch out in front of me over 500 meters. It's ungainly, having a long snoot. You're a towboat, Schiava. It's what you were built to do. It still makes me ungainly. Is our armor in place? I'm reconstituting the Holloman armor around my main hull and the shuttle while I get up to maximum rotation. The high-speed sintering printers will rebuild the honeycomb as it's ablated, so we should be able to endure their attack for an hour before they breach my hull. And we all die, Gabriella smiled sadly at Tom. Well, at least my family will finally be proud of me. How's that? Oh, the Vandermeen name hasn't been worth much inside the guild for years. We once were something, but that was a century or more ago. Lots of scandals in the pre-unification days. We sold cargo to people whose payments never showed up on the books and spent a lot of money on things we couldn't afford. That sort of thing. I was trying my best to live up to the family reputation until Grandpa shipped me out on the Angelo Participazio when I was 19. Adapt or die, he told me. I adapted. She twisted the lock of hair that had come undone around her finger. I think I've done okay. You've done okay. I read your file to make sure the trade guild wasn't sticking me with another lazy Venice kid slumming for a year before they promoted her to a made-up job in the guild hierarchy. You've earned your station. She nodded, and the confidence came back to her eyes. The others should be in the mess hall by now, sir. They'll want to hear what you plan to do. Yeah, he answered. Me too. Engineer Owen Toolison let go of Gabriella's hand, leaned back in his chair, and crossed his arms. That's bullshit, Skipper. You expect us to defend 16 containers full of ag products and clay with our lives? Let them have what they want. We can outrun them in the shuttle at max thrust. But we need to start now, before they get in range. Now would be good. Gabriella studied him with her eyes narrowed. You signed a contract, Tully. We all did. He looked at her. Right. The undersigned swear allegiance and fealty to the Trade Guild of Venice. They shall treat the guild's property as their own and defend it unto death from all persons or forces that may attempt to seize it without formal contract or payment, blah, blah, blah. Out here, that means exactly jack shit. You don't think that they actually expect us to die for what we have consigned in this tow, do you? Gabriella moved her chair away from him and didn't answer. Tom answered. That's exactly what they expect. It's what they demand. We will hold until our escort arrives or the privateers destroy us. There are consequences if we've run. You've heard the stories. Tully's voice shook when he answered. The oath was put in there to keep crews from selling cargo on the black market or making side deals, trying to take a cut of the guild's profits. That was before the war. That was before the separatists started using letters of marque to send out attack craft to hunt ships loyal to the Union. He pointed at the main display. God, Skipper, they'll kill us if we don't take the shuttle and leave in Chiava. How long? 5 hours, 26 minutes, assuming the privateers intend to capture the Gattino Alato and the 16 containers in our tow. If they plan to kill the crew, even if you run, then you should leave soon. What are their demands? Cowada Beauvais asked. She was the ship's bosun, responsible for managing the daily tasks needed to keep the Gattino Alato flying. Late 30s, black hair pulled back from a high forehead. Her hands rested in her lap, seemingly untroubled by the coming attack. She had recruited her 2 younger brothers to come work with her almost 2 years ago, booming out with the trade guild and living their lives working the high steel of Bowden's Gate's shipyards behind. Simon and Conatoken watched their sister while they waited for Tom to answer. His words wouldn't matter to them, only her reaction. No demands yet, Tom answered. They're jamming all RF comms to keep Chiava from screaming for help. I'm screaming anyway, you never know. Nothing's come through on the free space optical. They might have something to say when they get closer. Tom tipped his head. Were you expecting something special? Not sure. Container 1 out there on the port nose? Different locks and seals. Most of the time. A couple of Trade Guild suits were watching us close when we latched down at the Chingyo docks. Might mean something. Kawada shrugged. Might not. Tully stumbled to his feet. Open it. Sir, Gabriella reminded him. You call him Sir. Her voice was steady. And like hell are we going to crack seals on goods under our watch? Tully looked down at her, irritated. Sir, he added. If we're going to stay here and die, I want to know why. I want to know what we're sacrificing our lives to protect. Gabriella stood, nose a few centimeters away from the engineer's chin. You think you can make a deal? Coward. You deserve what the guild will do to you. We hold, like the captain said. Maybe we live, maybe we die. But I'd rather die here than be slaughtered by a trade guild vindictatore. Shit, Tully. Why can't you? The captain stopped her. Enough. That's enough. Gabriella turned to him, a hard look in her eyes, ready to argue that it wasn't enough. She had a lot more she wanted to say. Miss Vandermeer, get the shuttle ready, sync the codes and the logs, and make sure everything is hot. Sir, I want the option. Make it ready. Yes, sir. Chiava, we were already pushing for the new Palisade DSH? Yes, 5G push, plus a little. Turn us around and give me full thrust. We'll let that fact look at our tail for a while, and it should buy us a few hours before they're in range. 1 hour and 9 minutes. He shrugged. Better than nothing. Kawada, you're with me. Let's go see what makes us so valuable. Sir, you can't, Gabriella protested. The guild is not forgiving. He grinned at her. Let me know as soon as the shuttle is ready, if we're not back here by then. Yes, sir, she answered, but didn't move. Something else? She shook her head. No, sir. She turned and gave orders to the Buffet brothers to move gear and supplies. Tom and Kawada walked in silence down the narrow passageway, linking the Gattino Alato to the containers making up the tow. The ringing of their boots was loud on the gray deck plates. He knew she would keep to her own thoughts if he didn't push her. Tom stopped as they passed the aft airlock for Container 5. Wait up a second. I need to know what you're thinking. Trying not to, Skipper. She had continued on a couple of meters after he stopped. She came back and stood close to him to whisper, even though they were alone. Opening the container is a bad idea. Running is a bad idea. Don't let Tully push you. Don't make Gabriella try to stop you. She respects you, but she'll do it. You know what Tully said has nothing to do with this. She walked away from him. Kawada. She turned. Okay, you want my thoughts? I've killed my brothers. Let us die with our honor intact. No one will die today if I can help it. She came close and put her hand on his chest above his heart. She had never done it before, touching him like that. Don't lie to me. Our escort missed the rendezvous. End of story. Don't make this... She pulled away. Sorry, sir. He took her hand and placed it back on his chest. Let's go see what cards we have left to play. Who knows? We could get lucky. We have a few hours left. Lots could happen. He kissed her hand gently and gave it back to her. Kawada looked at her hand and nodded. Not letting you into my bunk. We have work to do, and I expect a nice dinner first. Flowers, too. I'll keep that in mind. But right now, you and I need to come up with a way to stay alive. Okay. She walked away from him, keeping her thoughts to herself again, leaving him to wonder if they had just made a promise to each other. Tom placed his hand on the keypad. Shiava, open the aft airlock on Container 1, please. The locks on Container 1 require you to acknowledge you understand the dire consequences of your actions. So acknowledged. The consignor will hold you personally and corporately responsible for any loss or damage to their property entrusted in good faith to the Trade Guild of the Most Serene Republic of Venice. Yes, I acknowledge that too. Open the lock. The lock is opened. May the Guild have mercy on you. There was a soft sigh as the seal broke and the pressure equalized. The air coming out was hot, with a dry, dusty smell to it. Tom and Kawada stepped through the airlock into another world. The interior of the cargo container was 100 meters long by 50 wide and 20 tall. Most shippers divided the space or packed it full of smaller containers, but not Container 1. The consignor had filled it with red sand, shaped into ripples and dunes sloping up toward red rock cliffs. The lights were low, and stars shone in an evening sky. He could make out a few low red adobe buildings and what looked like cave openings where the sand met the base of the nearest cliff. Tom squatted and touched the sand. He picked up a handful and let it run through his fingers. I thought this must all be a sim, but the sand at least is real. He stood and wiped his hand on his pants. That sky, though, so many moons. Shiava, who is the consignor on this container? Captain Maladusa Hulliman, Reunification Commission, on assignment to the Union Aerospace Force for the design of up-armored starships. And she's shipping sand from Chenyo to New Palisade? A whole simulated sand world. Why? Kawada walked farther into the container and up the first low dune. Not just sand. She put her hands on her hips, head tipped to the side. What are they? Tom caught up to her. Several creatures looked back at them. 6 legs sported a fat, rounded body the size of a large dog. And they weren't looking, he realized. The bump that must be a head didn't have eyes. Pairs of meter-long tentacles with flattened, spade-shaped tips waved at them from below the front head bump, while reds, browns, grays, and occasional flashes of blue pulsed through them. The closest one had its tentacles raised to full height, with the tip slowly rotating back and forth as though scanning them. It's weird, Skipper. They just appeared. 5, then 6, now what, 10? I didn't see them come out of the buildings. There was nothing but sand then. Oh, did you see that? The light shimmered, and there he is. He's a pretty one. Purple tentacles waving at us. She put her hands by her head and wiggled her fingers at the creature. They must be part of the sim. He walked down the dune toward them, expecting he'd be able to walk straight through the projected image. One creature scurried to meet him and pushed up against his legs, nearly knocking him over. Whoa, definitely not part of the sim. He laughed as it continued pushing against him, driving him farther away from the airlock toward where the other creatures were waiting, with their tentacles held high, tips rotating. They seemed friendly enough. I want to touch him too. Tom looked over his shoulder. Kauda's voice had gone soft and dreamy, and her eyes were unfocused as she walked down the dune toward him. She had one arm stretched out, and she was biting at her lower lip. Are you all right? Let me touch him with you, Tom. We need to touch him together. The reality of where he was came back to him, and he pulled away from the creature, suddenly afraid. There was a fast attack craft on its way to kill them. His crew was in danger. They had to run, and run now. No, we're leaving. We should stay with them. She took his hand. We would be safe here. Close and held her tight against him. They'd leave in a moment. The creature nuzzled gently against their legs. Tom closed his eyes. He could feel the beat of his heart in his wrists, in his chest, in his throat, where the top of Kauda's head rested warmly against him. He counted his heartbeats. He'd hold her for 10 beats. It was enough time for that. 10 more, and then he'd let go. 10 more. There was a hum in his head and the sound of music playing from somewhere. He counted 10 more beats, not afraid anymore. Capitano, First Officer Vandermeen reports that my shuttle is ready for whatever the hell it is you plan to do with it. She is standing by for further orders. Shiava's voice reflected Gabriela's irritation. Kauda stepped back from Tom, breaking the connection. Let's go do it. Thank you, Shiava. Miss Beauvais and I, we're on our way. Tom opened his eyes, and they were alone. Shiava, where did the creatures go that were here a moment ago? You and Bosun Beauvais are the only living things I can detect inside Container 1. Kauda planted her fists on her hips, fully alert. Vandermeen is good, but there was no way she and my brothers could have prepped the shuttle in the time we've been gone. How long have we really been in here? Shiava answered, 27 minutes have elapsed since you opened the airlock. Damn good hug, Skipper. Were you singing to me? I don't think so. I heard it too. We should leave. He glanced over his shoulder at the open airlock. Do you suppose those creatures are in the Gattino Alato by now? Or are they still in here hiding somewhere? They stared at each other for half a second and then ran. Kauda sealed the airlock behind them. Shiava, is there anything else alive in this ship? Or shuttle? Or anywhere in the stacking frame other than crew? Spiders, she answered. Also small mites and other insect-sized creatures native to 16 planets. I was able to eliminate the last of the rats we picked up on Cuddalo while we were docked at Qingyo. I think we may have a problem, Skipper. That Union Space Force captain who consigned this container, you recognize her name, right? Holloman? She's going to be pissed if we lost her pets. Yeah, I hear she's crazy. They talk about her on Bowden's Gate. Weird stuff. And she's the creator of the armor system that I'm hoping will keep us alive until our escort arrives. Kauda shrugged. She patented the design for her armor while she was still a student at the academy. Crazy and genius go together, I hear. I don't want her or anyone else in the Union military upset with me. Don't really want them to even know where I am. Is there something you want to tell me? No, not really. And that's probably a good place to stop. I can't hear you, Amy.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry. I was not able to reach my unmute button. That's very sad. Yeah, but good story. I do wonder about, like, you said this planet was called, like, Cuddalo with the rats?
Yes, Cuddalo.
Okay, yeah, I think that Emily Godhand would definitely agree with that. I just wonder if, like, some other people would feel the same way, you know, about a planet with rats on it.
Oh, the rats are everywhere. Everywhere humans go, there's going to be rats.
Oh, yeah. So are we talking, like, adorable fancy rats, or are we talking, like, New York sewer rats?
No,
like,
these are like New York rats.
Oh.
That's what always travels on the ships.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things, like, have their own, like, you know, voting system and everything. And like, they make me very, very nervous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephen, for being so brave and coming on here. I hope this wasn't too traumatic and that you'll join us again.
Okay.
And yes, so let's see. I'm just going to put myself on here for a sec, and then I will get our friend who we've been waiting on here. John David Payne is going to be joining us. We're just going to count you in, I think. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute here. Did I go and mess everything
So
up?
I think this is me. I'm live. If that's the case, I'm just going to start talking. So my name is John Payne, and I write fantasy and science fiction, and also design role-playing games. And I'm working on a book called the Micronomicon, a compendium of magic for Tiny Dungeon 2nd Edition and other games. And as I was working on that, I started writing some short, prose intros to the chapters dealing with various different kinds of magical traits, and they kind of grew. So I'm going to read 3 of those tonight. So each one kind of introduces some of the basic concepts and some of the feel of what it's like to play a character with one of these kinds of magical traits. The first story is called Shaman. As salty sea winds whipped her red gold hair into her face, Kinari stepped to the prow of her war canoe, set down the cherrywood offering bowl. A handful of bitter little beans was all it contained, but the spirits wanted what they wanted, and they wanted those beans. The winds lashed her even more ferociously as she stepped back from the bowl, with one particularly puckish gust blasting her conical straw hat right off her ears and far out to sea. Kinari did not react. Any response would bring more teasing of the same sort. Wind spirits tended to be mischievous, especially at sea. Behind her, 60 hand-picked warriors followed her lead and sat quietly with their oars up, despite shrieking winds and threatening waves. They had seen stranger things than this, and had seen her triumph over all of them. The beans spiraled out of the bowl and up into the air, where they were pulverized by impossibly precise little whirlwinds. As the fine, dark powder dissipated in the air, Kinari thought of enemies she had seen likewise atomized, and smiled. The storm, too, settled into a more pleasant mood, and a spirit descended from the lightning clouds in the form of a raven, inky black down to its clever claws and glittering eyes. "Your offer pleases us," it said, with a voice much larger and richer than a bird's caw. "But we have a question. Why do you wish to go back?" Kinari tucked away a stray wisp of hair. "My sister needs me." The spirit opened its beak wide enough to split apart like a transforming mask, revealing the face of Kinari's grandmother inside. "Who? This Baroness? She is not your sister." "Half-sister, then. She needs me." Her grandmother's face frowned. "It is a bad place. The people show no reverence to us. They do not keep the old ways." "You have your beans," Kinari thought. "Why are we still talking?" But controlling her breaths, she also controlled her frustration. With spirits as with demons, Miyuki had taught her patience is the strongest ally. "All the more reason to come to the aid of those few friends we still have." "She is no friend." Her grandmother's shape stepped out of the raven's mouth, at once taller than the tallest of Kinari's warriors. "Not to us, and not to you. She will use you." "No," Kinari said, with a vulpine smile. "I will use her." Her grandmother's giant face wrinkled in a frown. "You said she needs you. You said that is why you wish to go back." "I spoke the truth." Kinari shrugged. "She does need me. They all do, to put them back on the right path. And so I shall." Her grandmother's face cackled with glee, and as she laughed, her head swelled larger, the wrinkled skin at first smoothing, then straining, then finally peeling off like birch bark to release a giant skull that flew up into the clouds, still laughing. "So we shall, little mortal, so we shall. And with that, the winds and waves shifted, propelling Kinari's flotilla of war canoes west. West to the islands of the moon, west to her sister, west to a reckoning. The second story is called Cookpot. Eat, I say, and I push the bowl at the door. The vampire just look at me with those eyes, you know. He don't want the soup, he want to eat me. But nobody eat babulyu zharovnya. It's good soup, I tell him. And you too skinny. Eat. He look some more at me. He got eyes like the moon, big and silver and beautiful, very handsome. Maybe he tried to hypnotize me, but nobody hypnotized babulyu zharovnya. The vampire take the bowl. He nod his head, very polite. Dear lady, he say, the aroma of your proffered sustenance has indeed awakened my appetite. He smile, but carefully to hide the teeth, like he gonna fool me. I no say nothing. I just wait. Then he bow in his green velvet suit and red silk handkerchief to me in my scratchy black sarafan, him tall and noble like a prince, me a bent old lady with no more husband and no more children, and no more silly butterfly heart to flutter and swoon for lying vampires. Ha! He try again, whispering like a lover. It would please me greatly to take advantage of your hospitality. May I come in? No! He lean in as far as he can. The night is cold, and if your home is as warm as your smile, I would love to break bread with you. You know breaking nothing in my house, vampire. He stand up. What? You heard me. Eat the soup, or I no invite you in. Why? You hungry, you want food. You want blood. I point at the bowl. This soup got beets, hogweed, spinach, lots of iron, protein, nice and red, just as good as blood, better. Then I take a bite to show him it's no poison. The vampire think about that, then he eat. Good. Come in, Mr. Vampire. He come in, and right away he's tried to bite me, but he can't. He just stopped like a statue because he ate the soup, and nobody who eats from Babulyu's pot can hurt Babulyu. Ha! I give him a smack with my big spoon. Bad vampire, no! Then he turned to bat, like they do, and he tried to fly away, but I catch. And I tear his wings with my teeth. This is not my first vampire. Now you talk. Who sent you? He just hiss and show me his little bad teeth, so I give him another smack. Talk, or Babulyu throw you in the soup. You wouldn't. Bats and Beets is good together. But he'll kill me. Oh, too bad, poor vampire. I break his wing. You want to live forever? Talk! He quiet for a while. I give him a shake. Enough. You want a name? I want a name. Melchior, the vampire says. He's the one who sent me. Melchior, eh? Good, I deal with him later. Thank you, vampire. You're welcome. He sounds pretty sour. Now, will you let me go? Sure. I throw him in the pot. Nobody live forever. Not even Babulyu Zharovnya. The third story that I have for you is called Reader. Life Sciences, said the shiny black letters on the placard. Kairos R. The door into which the card was tacked must have been at least 3 inches thick, reinforced with heavy iron bands, but it opened at a touch, swinging inward with the faintest of groans. Come in. The voice was harsh and rasping. I pulled out the scroll I was to deliver, straightened my haori coat and kimono, and strode in, closing the door behind me. The pungent, suffocating smell of embalming fluid, together with the immaculately scrubbed floors and the obsessively organized bookshelves, told me in no uncertain terms that this was not a place for casual visitors. Books, wicker storage boxes, scrolls, porcelain and glass jars had all been stuck in their places as neatly and rigidly as butterflies pinned in a display case. But it wasn't a butterfly Professor Kairos had pinned down on the shining steel table in the center of the room, right above the little bronze grate gleaming wetly in the floor. It was a cadaver, mid-dissection, papery dry skin meticulously secured with bright hooked needles to display the vital organs inside. It was the most orderly corpse I had ever seen. Office hours concluded some time ago, said the lizard man standing on the other side of the table from me. Even hunched over in his scholar's robes, he was clearly half again as tall as I was, and wickedly pointed spines protruded from his scaly face, his thick neck, and even his knuckles. Are you lost? Professor Kairos, I assume. I kept myself composed and stepped forward, extending the scroll toward him, not releasing it into his claws until he nodded in answer to the question. This is from my master, Melchior. I said nothing, stepping back from that table. I was glad to have the evil scroll out of my hands. Sorcerous things like this one were rare, powerful, and dangerous. Reading them was forbidden. But as my master had explained, it was also sometimes necessary, which is why he needed the professor. Kairos grunted and turned his eyes to the unfurled scroll. A brazier stood next to the table, blue flames dancing over large stones glowing white with heat. He turned to take advantage of the light, ignoring me. I cleared my throat. As you can see, this spell will deliver you directly to a secure location convenient to my master, where you will be handsomely rewarded, assuming the objective is complete. Very neat, Kairos said, with grudging approval in his voice. He always did careful work. Shall I tell my master you accept? He pulled out a dagger, and my hands flew to the hilt of my katana. But instead of flinching, Kairos laughed. Boy, he rasped, we are not going to cross blades. No? No. He twirled the knife in his hand. This shiny toy has never tasted hot blood and never shall. It has a different thirst entirely. Before I could ask what that meant, Kairos stabbed the dagger into the scroll, which screamed like a piglet fleeing the butcher's apprentice. Paralyzed with horrified fascination, I watched as the vellum writhed in his hands, flapping and shaking like a living fish thrown on a red-hot teppan grill. Kairos chuckled with awful amusement, and his blade grew black as it drank ink from the scroll. What kind of sorcery was this? Bad enough to carry the forbidden scroll, and worse to be in the presence of one who could read the words of blackest magic and release the vile energies they contained. But this, what was it? Absorbing the power of the spell itself? It was beyond evil, it was unthinkable. I took a halting step back. Time to open the door, wouldn't you say? Kairos hissed. I didn't bother to answer, but instead dashed across the spotless stone floor to the massive oak door, the only exit from the laboratory. Behind me, I heard the tortured sound of something enormous tearing. I couldn't help it. I glanced back, and I saw a jagged black hole into nothing, hanging in the middle of the air, apparently ripped open by the ghastly black blade Cairo still held in his hand. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen until something crawled out of that hole. It was about the size of a dog, but it had a leathery carapace like a beetle, and a clattering confusion of spindly legs, each ending in a single glittering talon. It also had a face that smiled at me. I threw open the door and bolted, and in what I was sure were the last precious, vanishing moments of my life, the skittering staccato mosaic of music of chitinous talons on stone filled my ears, my mind, and university corridors dark as midnight, black as ink. Thanks, that's my 3 stories. Appreciate you all listening. Bye-bye.
All right. So, yes, I am back. Thank you so much, John, for joining us and for sharing your stories. And I'm not sure why I just unceremoniously bumped you off there for a second. But anyway, let's see. So what the person we have up next is Jeff Wood. So I'm going to bring Jeff up here. In just a sec. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good.
So, yes, it's great to see you. And you're back again.
I'm back again.
Yes, this is excellent. And what are you reading for us tonight?
Well, I'm reading a couple of flash pieces. One of them's horror and one's erotica. They're fairly chill, so you don't need to get all concerned about kids listening or anything. But
Are
yeah,
you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I always want to add something to my spank bank, Jeff. Come on.
Well, you may feel free, but it's not written with that in mind.
All right. Well, so, and your website is, I believe, jeffnwood.com.
There's a couple. Jeff M. Wood, because there's no Jeff Wood available. jeffmwood.com for the science fiction, the horror, and the literary, and then jgkane.com for the erotica.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I will let you do your thing. And I'll get my mug off the screen here, and you can tell your stories.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Thank you for having all of us here. I appreciate it. So I'm going to read a couple of flash pieces tonight. They're like 1,200 words each. They're a little longer than a flash piece normally is. This first one's called Forks. It is a flash piece, and it's part of a larger set of flash horror pieces called Mother of Glass, Mother of Tears. And not only is it a short story, but there's a lot of short sections within the story. So because you're not reading it off a piece of paper, I'll just say break or something like that to let you know. But at any rate, this is Forks, and this is under my real name, which is Jeff Wood. Where did all the goddamn forks go? John grumbled from the kitchen, and not for the first time. Emily swipes them, said Elle from the dinner table. No, I don't, wailed M. Don't swear, said Alice, as she put down a pitcher of water. Elle turned to her dad. Emily steals them and hides them, she said. This is between your sister and me, said John. No need for you to get involved. Sensing a temporary victory, Em leveled a look at her sister and added, and quit calling me Emily. John shushed them both and continued making breakfast. Break. He knew Em stole forks. She'd been doing it for a long time, at least as long as they'd moved to this town and to this house. He didn't know why she stole them. He had his suspicions. Simple laziness or an eccentric expression of tweener angst. Hostility at having to move out of their old house, their old town, their old life. Darker possibilities presented themselves. He kept them hushed. Most times, M simply buried them deep in the trash. He'd caught her a few times. He'd go into her room to take out the garbage and find them in the trash can. Sometimes spoons, too, and knives, the occasional bowl or plate, but most of the time she or something stuck to forks. M typically denied taking any of it. The spoons, the knives, the forks, the bowls and plates. John knew she took some of it. He wasn't convinced she took all of it. Break. When the girls were toddlers, John found a fork hidden in a glass fixture hanging from the high upstairs bathroom ceiling. He hadn't even noticed it until the bowl blew out, and he had to get a step stool and replace it. He unscrewed the glass globe, and there lay the fork, covered in dust, sharing the space with 3 pennies and scattered dead moths. The girls couldn't reach that high, not even with a step stool. It couldn't have been M or L. It couldn't have been his wife. He tried not to think about it too much. Disturbing thoughts threatened to intrude whenever he did. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't want to give his fears the power of words. Break. Months later, he found a shoebox buried deep in the recesses of M's closet, filled with silverware. All of the utensil had been neatly divided, stacked, and placed into ordered little rows: knives, spoons, forks. The neatness certainly didn't point guilt towards M. Her room was a mess. He recognized most of it from their own silverware drawer, but noted the presence of silverware he'd never seen, some of it so tarnished and worn it seemed as old as the house, which added to the mystery. He showed the shoebox to his wife. She shared his concerns. She said she could have found them somewhere. It's an old house, lots of ancient stuff hidden in the nooks and crannies. John said, "What about how organized it all is? Have you seen her room? Maybe she had to stack them all up like that to get them to fit into the box." They approached her with the box of silverware together at bedtime. "I didn't take them. I didn't put them in the box, and I didn't hide them," M insisted to her parents. John expressed no opinion. His wife, less likely than he to entertain doubt because of a disbelief in the paranormal, said 1 week grounding. "And you wash all the silverware and put it back in the proper drawer." "But no buts," said Alice, which made Elle giggle from the other bed. Break. He found forks in the upstairs bathroom more than once, laying on the floor, sitting at the bottom of an empty sink, stabbed into the soap. Elle was preparing to take a bath, turned on the faucets to fill the tub, and when the tub was full, she looked down to find a spoon at the bottom of the tub, submerged under the water. She screamed. The sight of silverware didn't inspire much fear in John. The girls tended to eat late at night or at odd hours. The bathroom seemed an odd place to eat a snack, but kids' lives were complicated, and teenage girls lived lives particularly complex. Body image issues loomed like landmines at this age. John could imagine the girls wanting to eat in private for any number of reasons. Break. More unsettling than the random silverware in the bathroom were the ragged circle of forks stabbed angrily into the angled wooden ceiling of the attic. John found them while replacing the screens with storm windows for the winter. The forks had been thrust with such force that the grain had splintered where metal entered wood. The handles of the forks were twisted, warped, blackened, bent. One of the kids might have done it. His wife might have done it. It seemed unlikely. Break. One night, awaking from already unremembered dreams, John opened his eyes to find a roasting fork floating high over his head, centered directly over his forehead. He didn't know what time it was and didn't want to risk turning to the alarm clock at his bedside. The sharp twin spires of the fork pointed directly at his eyes like an unfulfilled promise. If it dropped, he'd be dead. As the thin metal rods pierced his skull, he felt certain whatever force that held the fork in midair would fling it to him with enough violence to kill him. Alice slept peacefully next to him. He wrestled with whether to wake her or not. He did not want to endanger her. He did not want to die. He lay in bed, scared to make a sound, scared to move, trying not to blink unsuccessfully, muscles tight, eyes open all night long. Blink, 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 break. He blinked. No roasting overhead. No, nothing. The alarm clock clattered. His eyes searched the empty air above him. He must have fallen asleep. He must have been dreaming. Sunlight tumbled through the window, filling the room. His wife roused next to him. "Good morning, honey," she said, kissing him on the cheek. She raised herself on one elbow. "Why on earth are you holding our roasting fork?" He felt the fork in his hand without having to look. He tightened his grip on the handle. He turned to face his wife. "John, you're scaring me," she said. The end. So that's the horror one. This is called The Taos Hum. This is written under the pen name J.G. Kane, which is my pen name for erotica. Again, no need to get all freaked out. This is a pretty tame story. And again, there's more of my erotica on jgkane.com, and all my other stuff is at jeffmwood.com. You can throw on Amazon as well. And both of those sites will have content up soon. And I think that's it. This is erotica, but there's sort of a science fiction-y sort of tilt to it. At any rate, The Taos Hum by J.G. Kane. They checked into the Black Horse Motel, a cheap but clean adobe squat on the outskirts of Des Moines, New Mexico, just after dusk. They fucked nearly as soon as they had hauled the bags in from the car. He threw her on the bed, pinned down her wrists, and wrestled apart her knees with his Stetsons. She spread her legs wide and bent her knees to receive him, laughing, her short sundress working its way up her thighs in the process. He kicked off his boots and took her hard and fast and dirty. It was over in minutes. No worries. The night stretched out before them like a new world. After round two, they lay next to each other, young blood thrumming in their veins, drops of hot sweat forming on the surface of their skin in large, round beads. The ancient air conditioner groaned, laboring under the high desert heat. "I can't take that racket anymore," said Ash. "Turn it off." "Too fucking hot," said Clay. "We're going to turn off the air conditioner?" "It's blowing hot air as it is," said Ash. "It's broken." She looked at him, tilted her eyes, and purred, "Please." The sweet, filthy drawl with which she said the word got him lurching up out of bed and across the room to the dented metal box in the window frame. He flipped the cracked plastic knob to off. The machine wound down angrily and churned to a halt with a loud, percussive cough. Clay stumbled back to the bed and lay down next to his true love. Silence. No, not silence. The occasional whisper of a breeze, the rumble of cars and trucks rolling by out on Highway 87, the howl of a coyote, the scolding screech of an owl, the far-off lonesome of a train whistle. Ash said, "There's this sound some people hear. I learned about it on the radio, this late-night talk show thing I listen to when I can't sleep. Crazy shit like the New Jersey Devil, lizard people, hollow earth, black helicopters. Anyway, the sound is called the Taos Hum." "Are we near Taos?" he asked. "About 100 miles away." She continued, "They say like 0.1% of the population can hear it, low-pitched, right on the edge of their perception. It ruins their lives, most of them say. They can't sleep, can't concentrate, can't function. And they all describe the moment of waking to it, this moment when the world changed and was never the same again, when they heard the hum, the Taos hum. Government conspiracy, they say. Weather modification experiments, a secret submarine base at the South Pole. Huge machines tunneling under the earth, something alive living below the crust. Almost as many reasons for the hum as there are people who hear it. Is it bullshit? I don't know. The people who call in on the radio show, they sure seem to believe it. And it doesn't ruin everyone's life. Some people who hear it, they fall in love with it. Some of them say it's like music, like beautiful music. The sound of the earth turning, the sound of the stars spinning, like they've been waiting for it their whole lives and didn't even know it. Something lost and now regained. It's like a choice, Clay said, like one of those tests, that ink blot test where you can see what you want. Sorta, said Ash. They listened together, bathed in sweat, bodies pressed close together. They heard the whoosh of the wind, the rush of the highway, the cries and howls of life in the desert. Thick adobe and plaster walls muffled the sound of the world outside. The heat in the room suffocated them, the air poisoned them, and suddenly they couldn't stay in the room any longer. They had to be out amongst it all. The promise of the sound of the world outside called to them like a siren crooning from rocky shores. Clay shucked on his jeans and his t-shirt. Ash wriggled into her sundress, neither of them bothering with underwear or shoes, and they ran like kids across the parched dirt lawn and hot asphalt parking lot to his pickup. They jumped in and drove until there was no more city, then turned into a BLM side road, shut off the engine, and doused the headlights. Clay snagged the thick blanket he kept stashed behind the bench seat, and together they kicked open the doors and swung onto the ground and into the bed of the pickup, shock absorbers complaining at the jolt of it all. Clay unfurled the blanket onto the floor of the pickup. Ash rolled onto it, arms open. Clay fell into her, showering her face and neck with kisses. As he kissed her, he unbuttoned the front of her dress. He licked at her breasts, taking each nipple into his mouth and rolling the warm, hard button with lips and tongue. She wrapped her long legs around his waist, her eager arms around his neck. She squealed and flipped over on top of him, the edge of her sundress lifting and floating through the air like the wing of a startled bird. As she completed the turn and straddled his waist, he opened his eyes to see her silhouette looming over him. Beyond her, the stars burned in a dazzle of black, the arc of the Milky Way splitting the night like a scar. The top of her dress fell open. She pinched her nipples between thumb and finger, performing for him. He fumbled with the buttons on his jeans. Once he had freed himself, she tilted her hips and slid forward along his hardness, smothering the head of him with her entrance, teasing him with the promise of her wet inner warmth.
He seems
His eyes fell on hers and locked. She smiled down upon him. As he shifted his own hips and prepared to enter her, they paused, a moment frozen within the larger moment. The wind moaned across the high desert plain, really ramping up now, rocking the truck on its wheels. They felt more than heard the pinging impact of each grain of dirt and sand as it hit the faded metal of his truck. Out on the highway, they heard the low out on the highway, they heard the low diesel wheeze of the big semis gearing down as they approached the exit, the cough of exhaust from misfiring engines, the honking blasts of horns, the squeal of brakes. Farther away, the scream of a bobcat, the flurry of bat wings, the scamper of mice, the leap of white crickets. And beyond that sound, another, on the edge of their perception, the sound of the world entire, the accumulation of 1,000 tiny sounds, each one too small to be heard by itself, but when combined, a single note, a voice given sudden expression. They listened, the world opened to them, shaking their minds awake. Something lost and now regained. He thrust and entered her wild heat. She pushed and enveloped his hard desire, and together they disappeared into the noise, the night, and each other. And that's it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for inviting me in.
No problem, Jeff. It's always a pleasure, never a chore. Let's see. So I guess next up, we're going to have Katie Webster. He's just getting counted in now. So yeah, Jeff, I'll see you at Q&A in a minute or two. Well, more than a minute or two, like guess 15, 20 minutes. So yeah, Katie, what do you have for us? Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me?
I had you muted. Now you were unmuted.
Okay. Hello. Can testing 1, 2, 3.
You are in. I can hear you now. I'm sorry. That was all me.
So this is a short story that I wrote that's a bit of a departure from my usual projects. Most of the stories I write are fantasy driven or supernatural or horror. This one is really just about two men in an alley. So let's get into it.
We're doing it. Okay. I will let you go forth and do the thing.
Oh, okay. Just a bit of context. It was written pretty much on a spur of the moment. I saw a post by one of my friends on Facebook, and that's pretty much what inspired this. It has more of a dark noir Sin City feel to it. So, name of it is called For Daphne and Helen, and this is how it goes. It's not that I have anything against guns. In the right hands, there is a greater chance of proper use. Right hands as in law enforcement, military, such and such. But there's the irony. I'm not a fan of guns. Never have been, never will be. Never known anything good to come out of owning one. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those anti-Second Amendment types. In fact, I'll be one of the first to support your right to bear arms. Because once they start taking guns, the slippery slope begins. Next, they'll take away your blades. And I love my collection. My katanas, broadswords, spears, shurikens. Now they start taking those from me, then we sure as shit will have a problem. Now who are they? Hell if I know. Isn't that who people always say? The man, big government, 5G. Hell, they say Biggie and Tupac are still alive, sitting on an island not far from Guam. Oh, sorry, Daphne. I promise you I'll stop cussing. You kept saying I need to set an example for Helen. Sorry, Helen. Love you, baby girl. Still, they never say who the they people are, do they? Nameless, faceless. Oh, crap. I almost forgot the irony. The irony being that I'm a cop. Well, I mean, I used to be. But I was blessed to never have to pull my piece, not even once. Okay, but my point is, I may not like guns, but I respect a person's right to own one. That is, so long as it's legal ownership. Fairly sure the guy who just shot me doesn't have that gun in a proper way. Pretty sure they still don't give guns to a convicted felon. You know, that's another thing. No, I was a cop for almost 13 years. Detective first grade for 5 of those years. Private detective in the years since. And in all this time, I still don't know the difference between a convicted felon and a just a felon. I mean, is convicted thrown in just for emphasis? Let's just call this guy a felon. Fewer syllables. Lester Grimes. Up until tonight, he wasn't even on my radar. How he escaped from Lincoln Correction, I don't know. Right now, I don't care. Were it not for the flak vest Daphne always insists that I wear, that bullet would have done serious damage to my heart. My heart's already been broken. Does it have to be shredded too? Still, the impact at close range knocked me flat on my ass. But, sorry, baby girl. Still, From this view, looking up at the nighttime sky in New York City, not bad. Well, not bad if you disregard the fact the two of us are in the middle of a rain-soaked, trash-heaped, rat-infested alley in the middle of summer, in the middle of the night. So there is that. So here I lay, splayed on my back, splashed into a mud puddle. My dark brown London fog trench coat soaks up some of the dirty water. Jeans sponge up a little bit more. I hold my breath to soak up the pain I'm feeling. Need to play dead for a bit while I listen to his phone call. Yeah, I made it. I'm just 2 blocks away. Send Nick. Yeah, tell him to bring the fake passport. Yeah, corner of 5th and 145. That bridge by the river. Nah, it's just 2 blocks. I'll be there. No, give me 10 minutes. Got a loose end to tie up. Yeah. Tell Nick to come on. Tell him I see him in 10. Now, Lester made 2 mistakes during that call. He turned his back to me. Giving me time to get back to my feet with my walking stick. He also relaxed his gun hand to his side. One hard whack to the scalpel bone and the wrist was all it took. The gun sounded like discarded metal as it slid across the wet concrete. Lester Grimes wheeled around surprised, his brown eyes so dark they looked pitch black. His black hair slicked back into a ponytail. He's a big man. Not fat, just, massive. Like a former sports player. Sure, time and age had its way, but not by much. He clearly still put time in the gym. The tight black shirt his way of saying, yeah, I still got it. I guess we're about to find out. So, by loose ends, I assume you're talking about me. I thought I put a bullet in you. I shift my trench a little to show the bulge beneath my shirt. You know what they say about assume? Makes an ass out of you and me. Sorry, Daphne. He takes a quick glance at the Glock a few feet from him. I gauge that he and I are about 20 feet from each other, give or take a foot or two. Who the fuck are you? If you'd have looked in the wallet you took from me, then you'd know. Hell, it doesn't matter now. Do you know who I am? Lester Grimes, second in command of the Bronx 718. Escaped Lincoln Correctional 2 days ago. No one knows how. I personally think it was an inside job. Wait, you a cop? Not anymore. So what? Private dick? I grin at such a casual reference. Anyway, you started out a bag boy, running errands for King Carlos. You made your bones in the streets, running protection grips on the mom and pop bodegas. The occasional arson for those that refuse to pay. All the while you remain loyal to the king. You refuse to bite the hand that feeds you, and you quietly take care of those that do. Even took a bullet man for Carlos 2 years back. You can't buy that kind of loyalty. But King Carlos rewarded you anyway. Made you second in command of the Bronx 718. Even gave you a part of Staten Island for your own startup. Lester the Prince. That's what the streets are calling you. The rain starts coming down a bit more now. Not quite a downpour, but definitely more than just a drizzle. Any other time, this rain would have felt good in the middle of a New York summer. But this wasn't any other time. This was life or death between 2 men in a trash litter alley. Well, New York is a kingdom unto itself. Maybe that's why royal purple's always been my favorite color. But hell, you know my story, Dick. What's yours? When I saw you on the bridge, you didn't look like someone just looking over across the water on a rainy night. I know he's playing for time. He doesn't think I noticed him side-eyeing that Glock. It's like he's playing double dutch, like the kids do with the jump rope, waiting for his chance to go for it. You're right. And why not? I've got some time to kill. See, 2 years ago this week, I was driving with my wife and daughter. My Helen was just barely 4 years old. Still had to sit in the car seat. Days before, my wife Daphne had been saying the brakes were going bad and it looked like one of the tires were worn. Wanted to take the car into the shop. I told her I'd get to him tomorrow, then another tomorrow, then another tomorrow. But tomorrow never came, huh? Lester takes another slow step towards the gun. I let him. Well, you know how it goes. What happened next is what people call a perfect storm of events. It'd been raining pretty hard that night, pretty much like it's starting to rain now. Slick tires, bad brakes, high speed, a perfect storm. Let me guess. London Bridge came falling down. Wait, that car that hit that closed off that car that hit that closed off section of the 145th bridge a couple of years back made the news and headlines. That was you? Plunged 20 feet. I got loose, crushed leg and concussion, hence the walking stick. I couldn't get my girls free. I tried. Lord knows I tried. All while we were sinking in the dark, I tried. Dude, man, that's harsh as shit. Yeah, leg healed. Yeah, walking stick, but yeah. My mind though, my mental state, knowing all I had to do was just fix the brake and tires, my baby girl, my wife, something broke in me. I lost something that night. More than just my wife and child. Something in me most people have, but apparently I don't have anymore. So yeah, the past 3 nights this week, I went to the bridge, thinking it over. Trying to get the nerve, huh? He's within range of the gun. This just got even more interesting. Nah, the nerve's there. Was trying to determine the maximum impact. So wait, hold up. If you're trying to off yourself, why the bulletproof vest? Guess I'm a sucker for irony. My line of work being what it is. Daphne always insisted I wear this thing everywhere. It also has 10 pounds. So like I said, maximum impact. So, tonight was to be the night, huh? Yeah. I pulled out my wallet to look at my wife and kid one last time. Guess this is the part where I came in. No, had you simply taken the money and left the wallet, I'd have considered it no harm, no foul. Had you even straight up robbed me at gunpoint, I'd have given you the money. You didn't even need the wallet. But instead, I ran up behind you, snatched the wallet, kept running. What I don't get is this. You're big time in the streets, Lester. Wallet snatching should be beneath you at this point in the game. Yeah, it is. Guess I wanted to teach you a lesson about pulling out a wallet in New York without looking first. Wait, is he grinning? I didn't even get a chance to see them one last time. Well, I took the money, but I tossed the wallet. Didn't think you'd be a dick, and follow me into this alley. Clearly, that's why you wheeled around and shot me. So, backstories told all around. What's the play now, dick? Way I see it, one of us isn't leaving this alley alive. Question is, which one? Well, I think it comes down to this. You have a gun by your feet. I just have my walking stick. And your vest. But I'm betting you're a good enough shot that you can work around that, right? He's considering this. I see it in his eyes. He looks at his watch, then back to me. The rain is coming down harder now. It's officially a downpour. The setting couldn't be more noir. Two men in a dark alley, trash bags smelling up the air, rain falling on both the good and the bad, the evil and the just, the quick and the dead. We both obsessed, he and I. We both have somewhere to be. Both of us waiting, none of us wanting. Less than 20 feet from each other, standing in this alleyway, this dark, dank corridor of despair, fitting for a midnight standoff. Neither of us expected the night to go this way. We both had other plans. I get that. He didn't think I'd follow him. I get that too. But it should have at least crossed his mind, hard-edged gangster that he is. He did mug me after all. Lester sees now that it wasn't about the wallet. Personally, I've never been the all about the Benjamins type. Lester now sees it was about the picture, pure and simple. My one last chance to see Daphne and Helen. One last reminder of the good times before the accident. But Lester took that one last chance away from me. So now I'm going to take something away from him. As he looks me in the eye, man to man, it starts to sink in for him. One of us really won't be leaving this alley. As sure as the rain, it comes down to one inescapable truth. A battle between two opposing forces. A man, tense for what happens next, against a man without fear. He gauges the distance between us, the time it would take to go down for the gun and squeeze the trigger. Smart move would be to just fire and hit me. Even if he hits the vest, the impact would knock me off balance, give him time to square off a proper aim. He's got to be weighing the odds. Figure it's in his favor against an unarmed man. But I'm not unarmed. My walking stick is hollowed out. In reality, it's a sheath, housing a 30-inch sword blade. Lester makes his move. I make mine. He drops low. His fingers touch the Glock. I'm already in motion. The sword comes out, but he's too far away to stab a slice. Instead, I throw the stick hard for his face, bouncing it off the forehead. He shakes it off and point. I brace for what's about to come next. He takes the shot, but I'm already in motion. The bullet catches me in the vest, just outside the ribs. Hurts like a bitch. But I use the impact to whirl me around. I was close enough now. I sliced the blade across his chest. He shot again, but it went wide. But it was so loud it felt like my eardrums burst. I twirled the blade around for a downward angle. The blade plunged deep into the chest. The soft, squishing sound of the heart being punctured. I see the blade tip dripping with blood. I stay in position till the gun slips the grip. I look him in the eyes. What was once the look of vim and vigor and vitality now seemed vacant, veinous, venting as the soul vapors away. The knees give way and Lester slumps, sliding off my sword and falling to a heap to the ground. I use the rain to rinse off the blade as I look down on what used to be a living, breathing person. Sorry, Lester. We both knew it could come to this. I just knew it would come to you. Rest in peace, Prince Lester Grimes. I house the sword again, an innocent walking stick once more. I check my watch. Darn it all to heck. I have 10 minutes. If I hurry, if I push it, I can make it to the bridge just in time. Daphne, Helen, I'm on my way. The end.
Somebody in our group was yelling yay, probably Sarah. It sounded like a Sarah yay. But anyway, Katie did a good job. Lots of people seem to like it. So awesome sauceums.
Whew, now I can breathe.
Excellent too. Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to be moving into our Q&A portion of the show. It looks like you are in our second group of people because we can only fit 4 people on the screen. So I'm going to bring up Sara. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, hang on. Okay. Sorry. Muted. All right. So, yeah. So, oh, wait, you're still muted.
Still mute?
Oh, now you're not muted.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So I'm going to just go ahead and bring up more peoples and you can go ahead and, host us. So you've got Michael, Steve, and John. So let me just get.
Alrighty. If you guys have questions that you want to ask these 3, please be sure to put them on there, and that way we can get them asked. Alrighty. All right, well, wonderful job, everyone. First and foremost, thanks so much for sharing all your stories and, of course, your music, Michael. I'm just going to wait and see real quick if we start bringing in, like, the questions right now. So, but thanks again for all of your wonderful work. I guess I'll just kind of shoot some of my own questions. So, Michael, I really enjoyed your music. I don't know if you remember me. I met you once at the one with Amy. You were performing there. It was a couple years ago. And
Yeah, I do. You were at Uncorked, right?
yes, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, I remember for sure.
Yeah. By the way, Pink Floyd's my favorite band, so I love it.
Nice. Good. Yeah. They're not really my favorite at all. I just like the hat.
You're not crazy about the like.
No. But they're good. I mean, obviously, I like them, but not.
Though.
Anyway, thanks for having me, and thank you to everybody who read today. I appreciate it. But yeah, I guess that's it. I guess I'll just sign off now. I think we're kind of done, right?
We do have one question for you. Who's your favorite band?
Oh, of course. Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, who's your favorite band?
Oh, that's tough. But I'll say that my 2 favorite growing up for sure were Elton John and Queen. Those are my all-time favorites growing up. Obviously, I had a ton more that I liked, but I think those 2 I just really listened to every A side and B side that they ever produced. So yeah, they were a big influence.
Interesting.
Wonderful. And then I just have a quick question for you too. So, what inspires you the most to your songs?
Sorry, I just caught the beginning of that. What inspires what?
What inspires you the most in your songwriting?
I think it's just I mean, I'm sure it's like the writing process or the painting process or anything in the arts. I think when the inspiration, if you've been doing it long enough, I think when the inspiration comes, you just kind of feel it. And it's like U2 said, when a song comes, we try to get it out of the way. And I think, and maybe I don't know if it's like writing or painting or sculpting, but I think when that inspiration comes, it happens very fast, and it's almost like you're channeling something. So I don't necessarily look for themes, just sort of go with what's coming to me. And I can definitely feel when I'm in the zone, because if I'm not, I'm just usually wasting my time. If I have to work on a song for 3 weeks, it's never gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much again. Does anyone else have any questions for anybody else? Or I'm sorry, for Michael?
Sorry, one more time. It's just so choppy. I can't hear. I just heard my name. That's all I heard.
That's my audio.
Yeah.
See if I can get that figured out. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Michael. We really appreciate it, and thanks for your wonderful music. Make sure to check out his Forgiven Tips through his, I think it was PayPal. I'm just double checking that link. So the link should be here in the public comments for you all to tip them. Thank you so much again, Michael.
Yeah, and thank you. A big thanks to KD Webster there for the tip. I appreciate that, and everybody who tuned in. You know, it's and again, for all the readers out there, you're revealing a bit of your soul, and that's brave. So thank you guys.
Thanks so much again. Take care and enjoy New Mexico.
I will. Time to walk the dog here. Okay, see you later, guys.
Bye. All right, next we have
Bye.
John David Payne with the little one. What's the little one's name? Do you mind sharing?
We call him Yum Yum. His name is William, but
William, oh, he's so
call him
cute.
Yum Yum. Yeah.
Hello,
He is
William.
and he should definitely be asleep, but
Babies will do what they want to do, right?
they do what they want to do. So, yeah.
Really loved your voices. I know other people were talking about that as well, how you really just got into character with all of the voices. So
I actually, before we moved actually to New Mexico, I lived in the Houston area and had an hour commute to my job, and so that was like my only time to write. And so sometimes I would I would bring my phone, out and like dictate into the phone. And I found that as I was telling my story out loud, I always ended up doing silly voices. So I guess this is just I don't know, an artifact of that.
nice.
So
Do you think that helps you with the creative process to like get into that mode more?
yeah, it does. Actually, I've found that to be helpful, and sometimes I need to, go somewhere where I can, do voices and make faces without people looking at me funny, so I can get into a story. Yeah. Plus, as you may have noticed, I have a bunch of little kids,
Right.
and they like stories, and so I've over the last 8 years since the birth of our first boy, I've been doing well, really it's about 6 years. He was about 2 years old when he started wanting stories at night. But just been doing more and more of the out loud storytelling, and so I don't know. It's becoming kind of a thing. I mean, there's some people who write exclusively this way, like Kevin J. Anderson. Right, Bub? Yeah. I'm not quite there yet, but it helps.
So how many children do you have, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, we got 4.
4? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, right
Not
here.
bad.
That's a lot of kids. So many kids.
I grew up in a family of 6 kids, and my wife a family of 5 kids, and so to us it feels like we're almost there.
Right.
Just about to regular family size, but not quite. Yeah.
No, but big families are always wonderful. So.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly.
Mostly. Funny, right?
There are those days.
Well, Sarah, you have a few siblings too. How many do you have? I can't remember now.
My mom had 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seems like I though. My brothers and all their friends used to practically live with us, so feels like I more have 4 or 5 siblings.
My mom had 10 siblings, so I got
Oh,
like 50 cousins on that side. And anyway,
oh my goodness.
buddy,
Oh,
don't eat that. That's
he's
sick.
definitely teething, it looks like.
Yeah, he is definitely teething. Yeah, let's get you something else to chew on besides Daddy's tie.
So, Stephen, you had a recent book baby too. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Oh, you are muted. My gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay, now you're unmuted.
There we go. Yeah. I feel like I was like, on probation or something.
No, it's not like that.
Not just the technical stuff we're figuring out.
Yeah, book number 4 recently was released, indie published, and so it's in the same universe as the first 3, but has all new characters. So that kind of makes it a little bit more accessible. The main character that was driving and who this was also the first one that I wrote in third person. The others are all first person, and the main character in books 2 and 3. Has only a very brief cameo at the very end of book 4, and I had planned on going into a completely different universe, something contemporary, for the next book, and she wouldn't hear of it. So, having set out one book, she was not going to set out 2. So instead, I'm continuing on with the series in her voice again. So that's kind of fun. So that one will probably, if I keep on the same pace as I seem to do, it'll probably looking for that in February or March of next year. But lots of fun.
So are those books around? Is that the series right there that you have?
Is. Yeah. I've been kind of going through withdrawal because I did a couple of conventions last year, which is the first time I'd done that, and it was a lot of fun. With Marla, if you know Marla, splitting a table with her. And so I had signed up and had table space at 4 different conventions for coming up for this summer, which now there's, that's gone. There's one that's still scheduled for the first week in November down in Pueblo, but we'll see if that actually holds. I'm not overly confident. But I was going through withdrawal, so when I was thinking about setting up for this, I wanted to find a quiet place to do this, and I thought, I'll just set it up like on my convention table. So so that was kind of entertaining to do, but so that's why I'm surrounded by the books here.
No, it's wonderful. I think that's really cool. So if everyone else is interested too, definitely look up his work. You can already tell what the titles there are going to be, so it'll be easy to find it. Is it online as well then?
Yeah, it's Amazon exclusive, so it's on. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read them for free.
Wonderful.
The first 3 actually are on Audible as well.
Oh, wonderful!
And the narrator that did those is obviously far superior to me. So the first book is written in a male first person, and so I had one narrator for that, and then a woman did the next 2. And she's just been amazing. Both of the narrators are out in New York and do a lot of voiceover work as well as stage and screen acting, and really fortunate to find them. The character for books 2 and 3, her voice is exactly as I heard it in my head as I was writing them. So that makes it kind of fun.
Oh, that worked out so nicely then, it sounds like.
Yep. But yeah, it's. If you have anything that you can turn into an audiobook, it's kind of a painful process, but hearing somebody that actually knows what they're doing narrate is really, really amazing.
Excellent. And so how long did it take for you to start writing this series?
I recently, about 4 years ago, I retired. I worked for Boeing for about 20 years. And took early retirement. My wife is disabled, and it's a degenerative neurological condition called primary lateral sclerosis. And it had reached the point where I could either hire somebody to come and take care of her full time, or retire and do it myself. And since I kind of got married because I liked spending time with her, so it seemed like a good thing to do. And of course, kind of the silver lining is that it allowed me to write full time. So in those 4 years, I've completed the 4 books.
Oh, excellent. Well, it sounds really, it's interesting because you and John David, you both kind of were inspired, it seems like, around like your families to start writing with you having to take care of a wife, and then you, John David's reading or come up with your kids. That's
Yep.
really
Yeah, I really admire people that have managed to be or that write and get books out while working a full-time job, or having kids to take care of, or both. That's just amazing that people can do that. Because
sure.
I went from working 10 to 12-hour days, 5 or 6 days a week, and thinking, now that I'm retired, I have time to do the writing. And not realizing that especially if you do the indie publishing route, between the writing and the marketing and all of the other bits and pieces of it, it can very easily turn into another 60-hour-a-week plus job to really do it right.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. That's the thing that's like, I don't even want to think about publishing anytime in the near future because that's just a whole daunting thing in and of itself. And I don't think a lot of people that don't do writing understand that, how much of a process that is. And do you think that was about like maybe just as much time to do the publishing as it did the writing part, or was it a little easier?
Especially as I've gotten more out the door, the marketing and promoting pieces of it probably burn more of my time. As they always talk about how you need to have your platform, the blog posts and the website and the Twitter and everything else. And that's still, I still feel like I'm at the bottom of that learning curve. So I'm still working on those pieces. But I've got a blog running, and I've been doing quite a few blog posts about my wife's condition and working as a caretaker, which I kind of hate that label. To me, I'm a husband. It's like part of the contract when you get married. So, but and that's been a little bit therapeutic probably as well, is to write those things. But it's definitely without the benefit of some of the people that have been on here today and the Pikes Peak writers group, I would never have gotten as far as I have. So it's definitely the community support of people who are willing to give their time and talent and knowledge. It's incredible.
If you could do us a favor, would you be okay with putting in the comments here your blog posts? We can look it up.
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah, or like to the blog. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so
in this app, I don't seem to be able to comment publicly. I can do it over on our where we're connected on Facebook, but in the Be Live interface here, I can't do comments. But
yeah,
I'll put it over there, and if or maybe I think I can do it directly onto YouTube. So
you can do it directly onto YouTube because this is actually linked to my account on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
Comments. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just thinking I'm gonna, it's a little after 9:14 now, so I'm gonna bring up our kind of second shift of QA.
Yep.
People. Give Sarah a break from all of us. She's been like
in purgatory,
trying to save my sanity here. So thank you, Sarah, for being awesome.
No, this was wonderful. So, and thanks to everyone who read again. It was really a good time and wonderful stories. So thank you.
All right. So yeah, I will be. I am in. Okay, so now I'm in here. Got JD, Katie, not JD. Why am I saying JD? Okay. And then we've got Jeff. I keep feeling like I'm missing someone. Okay.
It was a great story, Katie, by the way. I really enjoyed that.
Enjoyed yours as well. especially the last one.
Appreciate it.
Oh, so Katie, you're into that dirty stuff.
Don't tell nobody.
My mom's comment, I think, on Jeff's story there was like, it's definitely not PG. Let's see. I think that's what she said. I'm looking for it now. Yes, I will even bring up this. Yes, not PG. LOL.
Well, it's about half X-Files and half erotica, but
You definitely had the X
Mom.
part in there.
So, at least one X. So we have some very different styles there. Do you want to talk about like kind of what keeps you inspired and going every day? Like whoever wants to go first on this one. I don't know, Katie, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Well, I guess for me, I'm very new to this, relatively speaking. I've only been writing like maybe a little bit over 2 years, something like that.
Wow.
And actually just really got serious with it probably maybe a year and a half ago. And my first labor of love is a young adult fantasy novel, actually a trilogy called The Dreamweaver. And I'm not ashamed to admit, I really cut my teeth on that, working on that book. I learned more about what not to do than anything else. I also learned the value of having an editor. Because as many times as I went over it and looked at it myself, I always found a couple of things that were wrong, misspellings, punctuations, etc. But for me, writing has been more of a passion than a business. I never really looked at it in terms of money. And like I was listening to the gentleman before us about how it's hard to do a full-time job and do the books. I think for me, I'm blessed in that my full-time job is what enables me to work on the books that I do. I'm a pipeline controller, and I do 12-hour shifts at night. So I'm usually pretty slow, and I'm doing 12 hours behind the desk. So that gives me plenty of time to put a Pilot G2 pen in my hand and just commence to writing. And I do mainly horror, supernatural horror. People that follow my Facebook posts, they know that I pretty much interact with my characters on Facebook. I seem to always have inspiration for one short story or another, and usually my short stories end up turning into series. But for me, writing is one of those things that I would do for free, even if I never made a single dime on it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna quibble if somebody, wants to buy a book or two, But for me, it's just the passion of it.
So Jeff, I know that you are kind of under some pressure from your lady friend to like, do other things and hang out with us. So I guess whatever you want to say.
I'm a little like KD in that I just with raising kids, I guess a little like several of the people who've talked, that most of my writing has been like grabbing an hour, usually between work and before I made supper, really late at night. I'm not good early in the morning, so I don't do a lot of writing in the morning. But it's always been like just trying to grab time whenever I could And now that my girls are, I guess, 18 and 19, they're like about, or 17 and 19, they're about to leave the house. That I'm actually contemplating the ability to finally write for, a chunk of 2 or 3 hours. And it's really kind of refreshing. A little scary that I have more time to write now, but it's nice. It's just freeing to be able to have the time now when it's been so hard to come by in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like how I think with writing, it's like so many of us, it's just very rarely like a full-time thing that we get to do. It's usually something that we're kind of fitting in on the odd hours. And I think that there are even like some authors. Well, I know that Michael Crichton, was trained as a doctor, I think, and he became a fiction author. I don't know if he ever actually worked as a medical doctor, but who else was it? The guy who wrote like The Firm and stuff, like John Grisham.
He was a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he like write a lot of his manuscripts like on the train and stuff?
Well, I remember John Irving talks about being a writer when he first had kids, and how the reason all the sections in his novels are so small is because that was the time he had before he had to run and get the next kid because they were crying or whatever. But it really does even affect your sense of rhythm, I think, of just having these short little bits of time to work with. It affects your writing. Just it becomes part of your voice, I think.
I think the biggest impact for me, as far as the virus, the COVID-19, like for me on my days off, or if I had an hour or two to kill, I would go to Barnes and Noble and I would literally set up my office there, my keyboard, my little tablet, my notebook and pen, and get me a coffee and give me a cookie or a sandwich, and I would be there with my Bluetooth in my ear and just commence to writing. And for me, I would always consider Barnes and Noble to be like my office or my hangout. People say, "Hey, where you at?" I'm at my hangout right now, and they knew that was Barnes and Noble. So that to me has been the biggest adverse effect as far as the virus is concerned. That's one of the biggest thing that I miss more than anything else. So it's been an adjustment, writing at home, which is not what I'm used to doing, but the passion is always there. So you get in where you fit in, you write where you can, as long as you always have that notebook and that pen handy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta be hungry for it.
I think it is interesting. Like, I mean, I used to write on the train a lot. Like I had, manuscripts and notebooks where I just like had clearly been like falling asleep while I was writing, on the train, either to or from work. And, it's like my handwriting would become less and less decipherable. And like, since then I've transitioned to like book bars, kind of. That was one of the places I would go to write for a while, and now they have been closed for a while, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But Sarah, I mean, I know you write and you've had to kind of grab time and space to write things like when you can, so like how do you usually squeeze it in?
When I was back in college, I also did the train thing. So, because I used to take the train all the time into college. For me, it was during lunch breaks. That's the biggest thing I used to do is during lunch breaks, I would start to write, especially when I did substitute teaching, because sometimes my lunch breaks could be pretty long. And sometimes I wouldn't need all that time if it was like later on in the day and the kids were, near the end of the day for that. So that was a big one, was lunch breaks for me. And then actually with the coronavirus, I have been able to do a little extra time because I've been furloughed. So it's actually been a lot better for me to do writing now. So I, don't have to do work as much. So, but yeah, lunch breaks, that's my biggest one for sure, is just trying to scribble down as much as I can during those times. So.
Yeah, I think that was actually something I'm trying to remember. Like, I know Pikes Peak Writers did a workshop on like kind of trying to write whenever you can, and like someone who actually was pretty prolific was talking about how, like, you know, on his lunch breaks he would just try to write like I think 3 pages a day or something like that, and he was like, I got my 3 pages in, so I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah, I admire the organization. Most of the time I'm just like, I'm hungry and I just want to eat and I don't want to think about, you know.
Right.
I remember, like, before I had kids, that I had all this time, and I'm gonna like grab it back and go, oh my God, you could have used that to write, you know. I just feel like it's been such a waste now that it's so hard to find, you know. And they were like vast seas of time I had back in the day. So
Mm-hmm. Sometimes
Yeah.
I think it sometimes can be daunting if you have a bigger project like a novel. That to me is like a lot harder, especially because the book I'm working on is historical fiction. So I have to go to the library and do all my research and then write. And like to me, that's like really daunting. And like to try to get momentum still with that. That can be hard sometimes. So I think for myself personally, like doing short stories is easier. It's a little bit more manageable to do because even if I do have extra time, the dauntingness can kind of hinder me to like be like, oh, I don't want to touch that right now, you know. So, but
I found that research is like one of those double-edged sword type of deals. You know, like on the plus side, I love the knowledge that I glean just from, you know, researching something to make it accurate. But on the other hand, sometimes I'll spend 3, 4 hours, you know, going off into the weeds and tumbling down the rabbit hole, you know, just to get 3 sentences in one paragraph accurate. Because it'll be just my luck that somebody reads it and they be like, no, that didn't happen on November 1st, 1981 at 5 p.m. in the evening. You got to get it right. You're a phony,
yep,
you know, so it'll be just my luck.
yeah,
Some people have fun, you know. Just kill choice. Oh, well, let's see. I don't seem to see. Well, you know what? Actually, famous last words. Okay. So I don't seem to see any other questions coming in. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say, or should I wrap it up, or where are we?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I want to say
yeah,
thank you for this. This was my very first live reading,
oh
and I
cool.
didn't really know what to expect. And I'll admit, I was nervous. I was sweating bullets. So thank you just for the camaraderie and the community and just being amongst fellow writers. You guys are awesome.
We try to be.
I have a quick question for Katie. Do you usually write first person? Because you really have just like a strong, unique voice, or didn't that story? Is that your usual mode?
That's the other thing. Like I said, I'm still new to this, and two things that I really struggle with in my writings, and one is deciding whether it should be first person or, you know, narrative version, and the other is I have a tendency to mix my present and past tense together, and so after struggling with it, I'm like, well, maybe that's just part of my style. Maybe I should just leave it that way, you know. But yeah, as far as first person, I think I have maybe 2 other stories that are done in first person, but I've never really looked at it in terms of, you know, that being my strong suit or anything like that. This story that I wrote that I just did, it was very spur of the moment. I actually did that whole story in like 2 hours.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
that's impressive. Yeah,
It is, yeah. Yeah, it was really good. It had a really strong voice and
Thank you.
into it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I know we're all kind of getting older and it's, COVID times and we're tired. So it's like, if you guys want to go to bed, I mean, I can do my wrap up and then we can close out. It's totally up to you. But, any other comments or anything,
I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
All right. Thank you. Well,
Nice to
I
meet
will see y'all later. So yeah, just to wrap up really quickly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe, give this video a like. That actually does help us out here on YouTube. Not that anybody's making money off of it, but it does give us options to get a custom URL and all that other stuff. So, I mean, thank you in advance for that. Also, I just wanted to let people know we do have the dates for the next shows. So July 22nd at 7 p.m. is the next show that we're doing. And I'm still actually finalizing readers for that. But I did want to let you know that on August 19th at 7 p.m., we're going to have Stephen Graham Jones here and Shannon Lawrence. So for those of you who don't know, Stephen Graham Jones has, he's had a lot of speaking engagements around Colorado. He wrote a book called Mapping the Interior, and he wrote Mongrel, which won several awards. So we're really excited to have him on here. And, July, I mean, we're going to have some great people. I know Tom Broderick's going to be coming back. Yes, it's by Thomas Keachy. And, we're going to have some other great people. I think Janae Jackson's reading. And I'll have to double check some of the other people I have on the list. But we're going to have a lot of fun. So I hope you can make it to those. And so thank you for joining us. And I will see you again soon. And stay safe and take care. And be sure to read lots of short stories.